Welcome to the series Against All Odds, Crafting a Career in the Arts. According to Statistics Canada, around 19% of the population are living with some form of disability that affects their level of freedom, independence, or quality of life. Of that population, a percentage are invisibly disabled, which means they may look and act healthy but are living with a chronic condition. Having an invisible disability could happen to anyone at any time and can include autoimmune diseases, brain injuries and strokes, chronic pain, mental or psychological disorders, among others.
People with invisible disabilities may not be able to work a full-time schedule or may need a modified schedule based on how they feel. But having an invisible disability doesn't mean living your dream is completely impossible. In this series, we will share with you stories of invisibly disabled professional craft artists who work or sell their art in Edmonton. We have also included valuable community resources that are important for any artist who wants to begin their career. I'm Amy, an award-winning artist and filmmaker who is invisibly disabled. And together with my husband Tanner, I will be sharing the stories of local artists with invisible disabilities.
And I will take you to different places in the community to show you where support is available.
It is our hope that with this series, anyone looking to begin their art career will know where the supports and resources exist in our community. We also hope, if you are invisibly disabled, the stories of the artists included in this series will help you see how it is possible to have a career in the arts, or inspire you to explore the artistic medium you have been curious about.
My name is Leela Haynes, and I'm the co-owner of Astro Cake Naturals. I co-own Astro Cake Naturals with my business partner, Sarah. So we've been around for about 7 to 8 years. We started in 2014. We specialize in small batch skin and body care with a heavy emphasis on fair trade practices and an ethical supply chain. I started making beard care products back in 2014 for my best friend Ben. He had one of those big long braided Viking beards. And since I was already making my own skincare at that time, kind of like the do-it-yourself skincare, he asked if I could make him some, and I did. And that's how the first version of the business started, under the Devil's Beard Co. And then it's just kind of evolved since then. So I have multiple sclerosis, or MS as it's called, and it's essentially a demyelinating disease where the cells in my brain get attacked by the process of demyelination, and it causes damage to those cells. So it looks a little bit different for everybody. For me, it manifested in my left hand is not so good these days, and my left side of my body probably functions at about 75% capacity on a good day, and that varies. I didn't start my business due to the MS. I already had the business, and then I was diagnosed afterwards. I would say my disability has definitely shaped the style of the business, but in a very holistic way. Physically, I've had to lean on Sarah for many things, and in that sense, I've learned how to loosen my inner control freak and to learn to be open to artistic ideas that aren't necessarily my own. So Sarah is practically entirely responsible for how our market setup looks these days, and I love it. So she's responsible for the creation of new products, and I'm eternally grateful for her contributions in that realm. The MS also influences what I make. Like for me, it's impossible to separate magic from reality. And when I create magic, I can create anything. I've been a spiritual person for most of my life, and I really leaned into my path after my diagnosis. And that spiritual nature is reflected within the Holy Death component of Astro Cake because we have two main brands. We have Le Beau Diable, and then we also have Holy Death. So I experience death and grief in some capacity every day. So I mourn the things that I used to be able to do that I can't necessarily do anymore on account of the MS and the damage to my brain. And I often fear what might be taken next from me within this whole process. But what balances death? It's life, right? I'm still here. And what balances fear? That's hope. So it's all part of the sacred circle of death and rebirth. Each creation that I make celebrates a rebirth and honors something that I've lost. Some of my favorite parts of the process involve that aha moment when you get that idea, that little spark. That to me is really exciting. The next portion of bringing that to fruition, like using your will to make that, to manifest that into something, that's also really exciting. I used to take great joy in actually creating physically those products, and I still do to an extent, but due to my limited mobility and hand usage now, Sarah has to actually come in and make a lot of the products, so I kind of direct her, and that's been a whole learning process, a part of that grieving again, but finding a way to rework it, and so the whole thing is good, but it's that initial spark that I like the most. Some of the most therapeutic parts for me in the whole process is the mathematical calculations that come with making soap or making lotion. There's no guesswork within mathematics, so I can kind of shut off that abstract part of my brain and kind of just focus on, something that is completely quantifiable, it's predictable, and there's peace in that. I love to work with raw materials like carrier oils and essential oils, floral waters, things like that. We try to get eco-certified or organic when possible, definitely fair trade, especially for the more exploited kind of materials like our cocoa butters and shea butters. Um, yeah, and soap making is my happy place, so all those things make a good bar of soap. We sell our work at various markets around Edmonton. Sometimes we leave the city, but not very often. We'll be trekking to Whitecourt and Drumheller this summer, and we hope to do more out-of-town shows, if health and energy allows for it, of course. We also sell on our own website, and we also sell at a tattoo shop on White Ave called Incantations. We have a little nook there. If somebody is just starting out in the making community, I definitely recommend going to shows. Speak to the makers that resonate with you, the products that you like, things that are similar maybe to even what you make. I don't think any of us bite. Most of us are friendly and happy to help. Like we were all you at one point, right? So we all remember what it was like to start out and really emphasizing that community, like reaching out and making those connections. That's my bit of advice. The most valuable thing that I've learned as a maker is to allow myself to take those times to just rest. Energy is everything. So really being in tune with my body's rhythms and understanding when it's time to work, when it's time to rest, when it's time to sleep, when it's time to take a month off of markets. That's been invaluable to keeping me going. My advice to aspiring makers with invisible disabilities is to strategize. Don't let those fears stop you from doing what you want to do, but go into it with a strategy. So take some time to kind of highlight your strengths, maybe your weaknesses. Make sure that you're equipped with enough tools and support system to kind of move forward and do what you want in a way that works for you, that is not going to burn you out. Strategy is everything when you have an invisible disability. Within the business itself, Sarah, my co-owner, my business partner, she's my main support. You'll see her tearing down at markets and setting up at markets. She's a powerhouse. I rely on her for pretty much everything. She helps with the creation of things. She acts as my hands. She's amazing. At home, my partner Cody is my main support system. He'll take care of the kids when I'm at the market and really help alleviate my duties at home, like housework, so that I can focus on the business. And I'm also in school, so he also helps alleviate the burden there so I can focus on school and the business. So I'm really blessed to have a really good support system around me. If someone doesn't have that kind of support in their life, I do recommend immersing themselves in the community that they want to be a part of. I think they'll find a lot of support there just within the maker community. I know that I have, for sure. There's certain groups of vendors that I see all of the time, and we swap in for each other if someone needs to go to the washroom or help each other tear down or set up. Like, you might not be able to choose your family, and to an extent sometimes just the people in your life, but you have some control over the people that you interact with in the maker community. And so just align yourself with people that have the same values as you, that understand, that you can lean on, that you can lend support to, and yeah, just be a part of that community. It's everything. Some of the things that markets can do to kind of help make it more accessible for people who have invisible disabilities would be like having tables there if people need them. I love having a table option that I can, have a table already there, because that's a huge thing that maybe people don't necessarily think about. Like, it's not a big deal just taking a table with you, but I mean, when you are disabled, it is difficult. Like for myself, like I can't carry a table. So having one there takes a huge load off. Ramps are always really nice. Sometimes I have walking aids on bad days. So having a ramp there, not having to worry about stairs, that's always a big deal. Designated quiet spaces would always be something that's appreciated, even just something that's like just a quiet space. So if anxiety ramps up, that's always nice. I have a few maker friends who suffer from severe anxiety, and sometimes the markets just get to be a little too much. Sometimes when my anxiety ramps up, you'll see me sitting underneath the table. You'll just see like 2 feet sticking out from underneath, and Sarah will be manning the booth and I'll be underneath it. So quiet spaces, I mean, that's something to consider. Maybe that'd be nice. And when markets have like a pro accessibility mentality, I find that that's really helpful. Like wider spaces to accommodate people that might have walkers or wheelchairs. Even just space getting around. Sometimes the tables we're all sardined so closely together that I'm scared of breaking other people's things. So pro accessibility, I think that that's something people don't necessarily think about. They think of the base minimum, like, well, we have a ramp, that's good enough. But there's things like corners, there's things like uneven ground, slopes. So kind of just keeping that in mind for makers that, don't necessarily show a disability. Being pro accessibility kind of, it levels that ground, so people don't necessarily have to disclose things either. It's accessible for everyone. My favorite moment as a maker is probably every moment that anybody comes up and tells me that one of my products has connected with them in some way or touched them in some way. That's really special. I have some tips for some new artists with invisible disabilities who may be starting out. And the first one is to just start. Just start. Just do it. Don't hold yourself back because of fear, just start anything, even if it's small. Everything will fall into place. My second tip is to give yourself grace. Let yourself have those rests. Let yourself make mistakes. You're gonna make a lot of mistakes. Everybody does. It's part of the learning process. And then one day you'll just start making less mistakes, and then you'll be a pro at what you're doing. At least you started, you failed again, and then eventually you'll succeed. My third tip I kind of mentioned already, but that's to strategize. So ask yourself questions like, why do you want to do this? Ask yourself how you measure success, because that's going to be big. So dream big and then find the will to make those dreams happen. Take it one step at a time and lean on your supports as needed.